following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee. It's time to head north in the MSP North Podcast, covering high school sports in Montgomery and Robertson counties. Here are your hosts, Brady McAtemney and Blaine Keller.
Welcome, everybody, to the MSP North Podcast. It is a beautiful, cloudy Wednesday here in Middle Tennessee. We have a great show lined up for you today. Blaine, why don't you welcome in our first guest today?
Yeah, so we'll take you up north, Montgomery County, welcoming in first-year West Creek head football coach Rob Gallowitz. Coach Gallowitz, thank you for the time today.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys letting me come on today and kind of talk a little football and put a little spotlight on West Creek. So it's going
Absolutely. Good. Never a bad time to talk football, right?
Oh, never.
Yeah, so this past weekend, you guys hosted kind of like a citywide pro day type thing, kind of like a scouting combine almost. Tell us about how that went.
For it being the first year, I thought it went really, really well. We had right at 80 kids. And so when the kids came in, we had a lot of middle school kids, and then we had a couple high school guys. Our guys were there, and then we had a couple other guys throughout the city that are going to do some things, and they came by and they participated. And it's just an opportunity again for the guys to kind of compete. And in my opinion, there's nothing in the city that we're doing as a community to allow them to kind of showcase, you know, what they've put in the weight room and things like that before we get off in the spring ball. So that was kind of the idea behind it too.
Yeah. Were there any guys that, caught your eye, caught some attention with, some fast 40s or high verticals or some, quick 3 cones or something?
We had a lot of 8th grade. And I can only really talk about our guys. But I mean, they had some good size on them. And, they were able to kind of do some things, especially in the weight room, that they've been working pretty hard on. We had a incoming 5 like it was nobody's business. So we're excited about that. And, just some other things that we saw. We're pretty hard against the guys and kind of pushing each other. Cam Athy over at Northeast. And so there was a couple other guys. I think there was a guy from Kenwood and Rossview. So it was a good event that just allowed them to kind of get out there and compete.
Well, Coach, when you talk about competition and kind of getting any kind of competition that you can here in the spring, it seems like you're still trying to get your feet wet a little bit with West Creek football and kind of getting an idea of what guys you're going to kind of have going into this season. I think one of those competitions that you could kind of talk about is at the quarterback spot. Caden Pace, Daniel Honeycutt, 2 guys that maybe will be competing for that starting role in the fall. In your mind, how have you kind of seen that maybe in the couple of reps that you've gotten to see both of those guys?
So KP, Caden Pace, he definitely has the experience. He played for us last year. And so he's kind of the veteran guy that's coming back. He plays multiple sports. He's just an all-around athlete. And then Daniel Honeycutt, he's a younger guy, but he's going to be an incoming junior, and he's again another multi-sport guy. So it will be fun to kind of see how it plays out in the spring. Either way, both of them are going to play somewhere on the field. They're just those kind of athletes that you can plug and play and put them in any position, and they're going to show out. So it's kind of a blessing to have 2 guys like that. But just the one that's going to get the direct snap after every play is going to be kind of important, and we're trying to figure that out right now. So.
Yeah, so this is your first season as a head coach, as a high school football team. So this is really going to be a new experience for you. With this being your first spring, what are some things that you've kind of started to do, found yourself doing, or things that you're excited to start doing?
So it's kind of funny. So yesterday or on Monday was our first day in full pads. and I have a new offensive coordinator that came in from California. I've got pretty much a brand new staff. I brought a couple of guys back, but for the most part, it's newer guys that are in the building. And after the first day of pads, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm calling other head coaches in the city, and I'm calling some other guys that I know, and I'm like, man, this is not how I thought it was going to go. And they reassured me like, hey man, don't worry about it. Like, this is exactly where you're supposed to be. It's going to be crazy. The best comparison I think I can have is it's like trying to drink water through a fire hydrant. Like, the kids are just trying to take it all in, and we have to really slow it down and just say, hey, like, we're going to take this baby steps at a time, figure out what we got on the depth chart in the spring, and then that'll kind of give us an idea going into the summer and the fall. So.
Yeah, so of course you spent time as the assistant under Coach Fig at West Creek, and you also spent time as an assistant under your new region rival, Clarksville, Isaac Shelby. What are some things that you learned as an assistant under those guys?
I think one of the things I think from Shelby was just thinking outside of the box. He was always finding ways just to invest in the kids, whether that was taking them to 7-on-7 tournaments outside of the normal ones we do in the city, scheduling games with people that, are going to be a little bit tougher in the spring to kind of really prepare you for the 6A ball that you're going to get into. So just kind of the way the program was ran has been like a big thing that I kind of took from him. For Coach Fig, I mean, he did a great job fundraising. He did a great job, providing things for the kids that they needed, and finding creative ways to, feed the team, clothe the team, travel with the team. So I took a little bit of each of those guys, and I'm trying to just mold it into something that kind of fits our kids and, makes them feel valued here at West Creek. So it's kind of what we're trying to strive for.
Yeah, and then one thing that I've noticed you guys do is, I don't remember exactly what you call it, but you'll bring in some professionals from around the city who, are in various fields doing different things. I know you had the guys from Fat Shack in at one point, a whole bunch of different guys from all over the career spectrum. And I know that's something that Coach Shelby has kind of like to do as well. Tell us about what you think the benefit of doing that kind of thing is for high schoolers.
So I think the biggest thing is so we call it Real Life Tuesday, and before our lift, we usually bring them in an off season, and it's just to provide them with a connection and just an idea of something to do after high school. A lot of these guys think they're, they have dreams of going pro and playing college ball, and for a lot of them, just like based off statistics, it's not going to probably be that path. And so we want to provide them another path because, we're a big military town, and a lot of these kids are just surrounded by, the military community. My goal is to show them that, hey, if the military is not something you want to do, if college ball is not there for you, and college may not be your end goal, when you leave high school, then there's some other routes and some other people I can connect you with in the community, that can possibly provide another outlet for you. Because I think anytime these kids get in front of another human being who's really successful, who looks similar to them, I think that really adds a lot of value to our program and just to the kids in general.
Yeah, that is definitely a awesome thing to do for these kids. Like you said, just kind of give them another outlet, something to potentially look forward to after high school.
Yeah.
But Rob, thank you so much for joining us today. It was awesome to talk football, real life, pro day, all that with you. We look forward to having you on again at some point, and good luck drinking from that fire hydrant.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Well, hey, you guys come check us out sometime this season. You guys are always welcome here, so I appreciate it.
Thanks,
man.
Coach.
Thank you. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Kim Snyder, head coach of the White House Heritage softball team.
We've all heard the saying that a little can go a long way. This is especially true during the Big Payback's 24-hour online giving event, helping support hundreds of local nonprofit organizations. From 6 p.m. on May 4th through 6 p.m. May 5th, a gift of as little as $10 could be boosted by cash prizes and help to make a big difference in the life-changing work of local nonprofits. Learn more at thebigpayback.org.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes. That'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Nobody covers high school sports quite like Main Street Preps, bringing you hyper-local coverage of the teams and athletes in your backyard, wherever your Main Street is. We've got a podcast for you. Whether it's Sumner County Sports Podcast with Zach Womble, Casey's Take on Sports with Dixon Post and Cheatham County Exchange sports reporter Casey Patrick, the MSP North Podcast with Brady and Blaine covering Montgomery and Robertson counties. More with them in a moment. Also, the Main Street Preps this week with Russell Venozzi and Tyler Palmatier. They get a macro view of the prep sports in Middle Tennessee. Find the latest prep sports news from your Main Street at mainstreetpreps.com and find these podcasts dropping weekly on these Main Street media social platforms and wherever you get your podcasts. We take you back up north. Your host, Brady and Blaine.
Welcome back to the MSP North Podcast. So many great things happening within our company and in Middle Tennessee, just with high school sports, so many great things happening. We'll take you to one that we haven't talked about enough this season, admittedly. White House Heritage and its softball program, regular season district champions in 9-2A. We talk now with head coach Kim Snyder. Coach Snyder, how are we?
Hey, we're pretty good. You know, it's always nice to finish the season at the top. So super excited.
Well, Coach, I'll start off with this. Your team has 10 wins on the season, and 7 of them have come against District 9-2A competition. So in the games that you've played, you've won the ones that have mattered. So just talk to us about what that has kind of happened, what's happened throughout the season that has allowed your girls to win the games that really had significance on your postseason fate.
Well, you know, I think a lot of it had to do with we did have a rough start for sure. As we headed into the season, our roster had to change a little bit, unfortunately, and we lost some pretty good talent. And you know, we had to sort of figure out a new dynamic and put some people in different places that they weren't exactly accustomed to, and so we took some time to do that. All along, I've told the girls to trust that process, trust each other, and get a little better every day. And so when it came around to really getting into the district part of our season, I think we were starting to buy in a little bit more to that idea. And I think that's one of the reasons we've been really successful this season.
Yeah, so that success has, like you said, earned you guys a spot at the top. And you're going now into the tournament. Tell us a little bit about the outlook of this tournament. Who are some teams you guys expect to see, and what experience you have against those teams that you might be coming to see in this next week or two?
You know, at the end of last season, even Cheatham County, who is again in our district, we reformatted districts this past year, and Cheatham County is still in our district, and they came on strong really last season at the end, and still today we split our 2 games, our 2 regular season games with them this year, and so I'm anticipating a pretty good battle with them. They always get hyped when it comes to tournament time, so I'm looking forward to that. Coach Garrett over there and I get along pretty well, but we're definitely both competitive, and that drives us. And then Sycamore has outdone us once this season. So I think, we ended up with, or came close to ending up with a three-way tie for second, third, and fourth in our district. So this is definitely going to be a week that it's going to be whoever comes to play and has the biggest part for it kind of thing, I think this week. So, yeah.
Well, Coach, you mentioned some players early in the season that kind of had to drop off, but you still have talent throughout the roster right now, obviously, in being number one in 9-2A. Maddie Myers is a 378 average that leads the team, and Audrey Brinkley, a UT Southern signee, is a really versatile player, as we've talked about in the past. Whenever you have to throw players into different positions and get them accustomed to things that maybe they weren't expecting, who are some of those players that have stuck out over the course of this season?
Well, for sure. Maddie has definitely stepped up for us. She's a really quiet person, but definitely a tenacious competitor. And Audrey brings us speed and diversity at the plate. But I would certainly look for Brenna Henshaw, our senior pitcher, to continue to bring the composure that she brings in the circle, as well as a great deal of consistency in there. I think, when Brenna's in the circle, we have a lot of confidence defensively behind her. And that's always a plus. Along with that, Brenna also has served as an offensive anchor for us. She, along with Hayden Duff and Julie Gladowski, sort of serve as the anchors to our offense. And alone, they've probably put together about 40% of our RBIs. So, those would definitely be some of the ones I keep an eye on as we get into this postseason.
Well, Coach, your team, White House Heritage, reached the sectional round last year. And after coming on strong in the district slate, I'm sure you guys are maybe hoping for a return to that point, if not further. But you welcome in Summertown now, who's a Class 2A favorite, I believe. Whenever you look at that district, region, and then sectional after that, what expectations are you hoping from your team at that point, and what can you kind of hope for going into these next couple of weeks?
Oh, softball players are very superstitious. So I don't, you never want to jinx yourself by putting it out there, but I like to call it sort of maintaining the legacy that we've established here at Heritage. And I definitely have the goal of making it back to sectionals, if not further. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Summertown's sitting on top of their district right now in a really good spot. And we've stood, played side by side against them, not against them, but, next to them at the state level. For a couple of years. And so definitely looking forward to that matchup. Got to keep an eye on, you always have to keep an eye on Giles County. We saw them a couple years ago at the sub-state, and they know what they're doing as well as Loretta. So what I'm looking for, we've talked a little bit about it, and collectively, we actually have a whole lot of talent. I don't necessarily have a standout by any means, but when we put all the talent together that we have in our small group, I think we're going to be able to do some big things to get some of those big wins that we're going to need to move on. So, yeah, I definitely love the goal of getting back to sectionals, if not further. But we're going to focus. To do that, we've got to focus on taking it one game at a time for sure.
Well, as you mentioned, White House Heritage has a great history in softball, especially over the past 10 years. And we'll see if the Patriots can kind of move on after that and continue on with that this season. Coach Snyder, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Kim. So we're going to head to our second and final break of the day. When we come back, our One Thing segment, our performance of the week, and our games of the week.
We've all heard the saying that a little can go a long way. This is especially true during the Big Payback's 24-hour online giving event, helping support hundreds of local nonprofit organizations. From 6 p.m. on May 4th through 6 p.m. May 5th, a gift of as little as $10 could be boosted by cash prizes and help to make a big difference in the life-changing work of local nonprofits. Learn more at thebigpayback.org.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
From preps to pros, we got you covered on Main Street Sports today, weekdays at 2 p.m. Central, with Chris Yao, Mo Patton, and JP Plen as they take you through all of the mid-state to high school news, local, college, regional, SEC, the pros, reaction from the draft, and so much more. On this Thursday edition, as always, we've got our daily Braves report, this day in Braves history, plus our team and player of the weekend, Coach's Corner, spotlighting a local prep or college coach. It's on Main Street Sports today, weekdays, 2 p.m. Central, right here on all of these Main Street media outlets. Visit MainStreetSportsToday.com for more details. We take you back up north to Brady and Blaine.
Man, those three handsome guys put on a heck of a show, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Blaine, we are going into our One Thing segment, and if you don't mind, I would like to go first, as I have, we have kind of a sheet here. Here's kind of a little look at how the bacon is made. I don't remember the exact statement, but
magic, yeah.
We have kind of a little skeleton of how our show is put together here on my second handy dandy monitor. And I've got my 2 on there, but I've got a third honorary one that I'd like to give out real quick. So I guess my third one thing of the day is that this Friday, the Robertson County Connections sports writer Blaine Keller is graduating from Austin Peay State University.
That is correct.
I wanted to,
wow.
make that one of my one things and congratulate Mr. Blaine Keller on his upcoming graduation.
I think it fits in Montgomery and Robertson County. So I think if you couldn't tell, I am not graduated from college yet. I don't look like it. So, exciting, but it doesn't really feel like it. I'm still afraid something's going to go horribly wrong.
It's still time to fail a class, right?
Yeah. Well, don't say that. Knock on wood. But let's go to my one here. But my one thing, Greenbrier baseball. I mentioned it last week. They have, been on a really great tear as of late. I believe it was 12 or 13 straight wins against some really tough teams. They beat Beach. They beat Rossview. But it came to an end last night against Dixon County. I believe that was a 4-2 loss to close the regular season. Still undefeated in District 9-3A, I should say, and they are the top seed, hosting that tournament at the end of this week. It's been a great run for them, and I think they'll continue to do that in the district tournament. But, just seeing their hot streak kind of come to a close there was pretty interesting.
Definitely. Sticking on the baseball field, Clarksville Academy in their district tournament just beat down MJCA. They beat down DCA and got to Clarksville Academy on Monday for that district championship game, I should say. They got out to an early 4-0 lead against Goodpasture, who is the top-ranked team in the entire classification. Clarksville Academy, I think, is number 5, so not too far behind. But Clarksville Goodpasture has been really at the top there pretty much all season. So, they wanted to get that win. They got swept by them in the regular season. They had that 4-0 lead, but eventually lost by just a single run but just the fact that they were able to hang with them that long, lose by just a run, have the lead on them for a lot of that game, shows that, maybe if they meet again, they might have a chance to get that win. So Clarksville Academy falling just short of good pasture to get that number 2 seed coming up in the region.
And that region will be pretty interesting. I spent a long time looking at that bracket this morning, facing off against Grace Christian, who's really had a solid season. A couple of guys with 40 RBIs and a lot of power bats in that lineup. So it'll come down to the pitching of Merriweather and Max Castle to really, I think, push them back to that rematch, which would be in the region championship, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
My other one thing, let's go once again, my weekly Bria's Monday and Springfield softball update. It feels like this Thursday, weather permitting, the Jackets will host the winner of West Creek and Northeast tonight. On Wednesday, those two teams will play the play-in. Springfield being the number 1 seed, they will host Northeast or West Creek. And Bria's Monday, 7 strikeouts away from 500 career ones. Let's remember, it's only in 3 years too. So a lot of impressive stuff there on her part to even reach that mark since, her sophomore season was canceled due to coronavirus.
Yep, absolutely. Have to imagine she will get there in that next game. She usually good for double-digit strikeouts, so 7 should be a walk in the park. My final one thing, we had plenty of signings in the city these last couple of weeks. Really, the 2 banner ones are J.J. Wheat, Clarksville basketball star, 2,000-point scorer in his career, 2-time state tournament traveler, I should say, 3-time Main Street Clarksville MVP, 3-time district MVP. It's a laundry list. We'd be here all day if I was going to list everything that J.J. Wheat accomplished. Signed on to play basketball at Freed Hardman. They're thrilled to have a guy like him. Everyone's wondering how he didn't go D1, but just getting that chance to play college basketball is pretty special in itself, and we have no doubt he's going to thrive there. Additionally, Aiden Kujawa, a Clarksville Academy tennis superstar, signed to play at Austin Peay. So she's going to be going right across 2nd Street there here in Clarksville, from Clarksville Academy to Austin Peay, where she will no doubt contribute to their already very solid tennis program. Clarksville also had 6 other athletes sign. Northwest, AJ Harris, baseball player, also signed. Amon Collier from Rossview, basketball, also signed. So plenty of athletes moving on to play college sports in the city.
Well, if there's one thing I'll say regarding that, I think, Nate James, if you're listening to this, take a book out of Austin Peay tennis coach Ross Brown's book. Take a page out of that. You got Amitri Massa at Florida. It's one of the Florida colleges.
I think is it Tallahassee Community College?
Amitri, you're going to have to forgive me. I don't remember that. Yeah. But you got Amitri,
I know
you got
the
JJ.
They're the Manatees. I know that, and I love that.
Yeah,
name.
You got the Manatees there. You got a couple of Clarksville guys that need to be picked up. Let's talk about our games of the week, Brady. We've got the same one listed. This weekend and next week will be filled with district tournament play. You've got a ton of awesome games coming up, a ton of rivalries based in my county and your county. Just what do you think the biggest one's going to be? Give us one.
If I got to give you one, I'm looking forward to seeing Northeast and Clarksville have a rematch in baseball. They split their regular season series earlier this season, one game. Sorry, we got Clarksville and Rossview soccer probably will meet again. That could be Rossview and Northeast soccer as well. But Clarksville and Northeast baseball, I think, is going to be a game that could be really good. They split that regular season, one game at Vanderbilt that Northeast won because Evan Primusing just had a fantastic game. But I'm really looking forward to seeing that game.
Well, let's talk about some more soccer. Stay on the pitch and look at our players of the week, performances of the week. I've got White House Heritage forward Dylan Tate. He's a junior. He had a hat trick against Springfield last night. White House Heritage has won 7 of 8, if I'm not mistaken, after a very slow start to the season. Dylan's one of those guys that's really turned it around. And Brady, I think you've got a soccer star as well. You're sticking with Rossview here.
Yeah, absolutely. Chance Seiler. This is a game that I was really looking forward to, Clarksville versus Rossview. It ended up being just a complete beatdown from Rossview. Chance Seiler scored the first 2 goals, the last 2 goals, which ended them because they were the 8th and 9th goals for Rossview in the game. And he also had one sandwiched in between there. So he scored 5 goals in that game against CHS. To CHS's 0 goals against Rossview. So a 9-0 win. Chance Seiler, huge part of that win. And Blaine, I believe that's going to wrap us up for today. Another successful MSP North podcast in the books, would you say?
Put a bow on it. Yeah, I think it was pretty good. Thank you to Kim Snyder. Thank you to Rob Gallowitz for joining us today. Make sure to catch us on Twitter, Facebook, MainStreetPreps.com, all that. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.